Hello, everyone, and welcome to People of Interest. This is a show based on stories from people like you and me. I'm your host, Miguel Guanipa, and today I have my guest. His name is Bob Gallagher, a new friend, a person that I know some of his family, and I wanted to find out what his story is. Thank you, Bob. Thanks for showing
Okay.
up.
Well,
Really,
thank you for having
honestly,
me.
I
Appreciate
really,
it.
I wanted to say first, thank you so much. It we all have busy lives, and I appreciate that you decided. It's okay. I'm gonna go to Miguel. Sure, you took time. I'm gonna steal this hour from you, basically. So I appreciate that you giving me this hour to steal from you.
No, well, thank you for thinking of it. It's always since we've been in Whitensville, it's always been with Northbridge as
Yeah.
well. It's always been ever changing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long have you been in Northbridge?
We moved here in January of '99,
Yeah. Okay.
and it was right after my daughter was born, and then we were looking to get a bigger place. We came from Walpole,
Mm-hmm.
actually, and I was working out in Western Mass at that time in
Yeah.
sales. And that interchange off of the Mass Pike on 146 was just, being finished off.
Mm-hmm.
So we started looking out this way, and I had the sales manager of my company was living in Hopkinton at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually got me to take a look out this way. We actually went out to Douglas initially. We were looking out there.
Douglas.
But it seemed to be a little further out than we wanted to
Yeah, I
get.
hear that. Everybody who tells me about Douglas, it's a wonderful town, but they say, you can't get out of it.
Was like-
What's up with that?
Well, if it was just a little further out than you want to go. I mean,
Yeah.
and it wasn't as developed as it is today.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, just getting the different things that Northbridge offered with the
It's
shopping
like a
centers.
forest in Douglas, isn't it? Like a forest park? or
Town
some kind of-
forest, yeah.
Town forest,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So it's huge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But we came out here and we were looking at Douglas, and then we looked a little bit at Uxbridge, and then we kind of came out to Northbridge. We just kind of
Mm-hmm.
really liked it a lot, and
So this is when you had your daughter. Were you looking for thinking a little bigger place, a family growing?
yeah,
or-
we'd outgrown the place we're at in Walpole.
Yeah.
And it was a situation where it was a farmhouse we were renting, and it was big, but it didn't have what we needed to
Mhm.
at that point in our life. So we went on a little bit further, get a little bit more house for the money when you come out of that area,
Mhm.
and we actually stumbled across a development that was coming in,
Mm.
and not looking to actually build. We were kind of looking to just buy a house.
Oh, okay.
And my wife at the time was working in a travel agency, and was one of her customers that was going on a golf trip. It was actually a developer.
Yeah.
And he had heard that we were looking, to leave Walpole.
Mhm.
And he had said, look, I have a tract of land that, I'm picking up. And the developer that was in it, prior had a situation. We left 3 lots open, and he was picking them up. And he
Oh.
goes, but you got to get there right away because they're going to go quick.
Oh.
So we were looking at the time, and I think there was a Patriots game that weekend,
Yeah.
home game.
Mm-hmm.
My wife says, "Well, this is more important. We're gonna, get out to this place." that house
You
may
had
not
to
be
skip
there.
the game.
Yeah, yeah.
Have you had to skip a lot of games for the family, or that you do that very rarely? Or?
I had season tickets for the Patriots for about 22, 23 years.
All right.
Where I was living, where we were living
Yeah.
in Walpole, was right across from where the stadium is, in the old Schaefer Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And the house that we lived in, there was a 7-acre lot, and the gentleman who owned it also had parking privileges for the Patriots games at the time. So we
Yeah.
actually could put 70 cars in there on game day.
Wow.
And that was part of the agreement of us living there. We take care of the property, and he just said the only issue was on Sundays. Your life's gonna be a little bit disrupted because the house gets full of cars.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually a great thing because it wasn't just football season; it was concerts. Anything that was going on at the stadium, we would do that. So we did that for almost 10, 12 years.
Wow.
But you could actually walk. It was like maybe less than a mile walk right through the back of the woods. You would come out right to Route 1, and back over the stadium is, even today, there's Robin Ford, there's a dealership, and we live right in back of there, so it's an easy walking distance.
Oh. And
So-
you moved from there?
Yeah, yeah, I know. I was. That's what my son says to me sometimes too.
Yeah.
But it had a lot of great things to it. In the town, I loved it. Went to high school here
Walpole
and settled back.
or Northbridge?
Walpole.
Walpole, okay.
And but it was just time to move on.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of great memories there. But
Oh, that's good. That's good. Where does your family live? The rest of your family? Do they live around? Or?
yeah, my folks have passed, but they
Oh.
were from Walpole. My dad just passed away. It'll be 2 years in January.
Oh,
And my mom, she's been gone now for about a little over 10 years. But they were right next to Bird Park in East Walpole. They were there for a number of years. My other brother, he lives right on the Cape, actually in Wareham. He's a postmaster general down in Wareham, and his family's down there. So, yeah, we're spread out a little bit, but we managed to see each other.
So you like sports a lot, huh?
I do.
Always liked it since you were young, or?
I always have. You know, growing up in Boston, you can't not be, I guess.
Well, I came here when I was 14 years old, I guess, from Venezuela. I never got into sports, I guess.
No soccer?
Not even soccer.
No?
No, they don't play a lot of soccer.
Well, Paley, right?
Back in Venezuela, I did get into baseball for a little bit when the guys like Jim Rice and Carl Yastrzemski were playing.
Right.
I watched them for a little while there, so I was pretty excited. But then I went in and out of that. So.
Yeah.
But it's a good thing to get into. Huh? I mean, you.
It's great. I think it teaches a lot of. If you start at a young age, whatever the sport is, I think it's a great way to work your mind, work your body. It teaches you discipline. I mean, it brings a lot of that incorporates into the real world for you.
Yeah.
And I think it keeps you out of trouble. I mean, I think it's a lot of things that I learned just through the years of getting involved with different sports programs, whether it be at the coaching level or whatnot. It gives the kids the alternative to do something with their spare time that's constructive, that's beneficial.
Well, when you were a kid, though, is that what you were thinking of getting into sports, or stay out of trouble? Or?
Well, when I was a kid, it's kind of.
Were your parents thinking that?
Yeah. Everybody did it. When I was a kid growing up, I mean, we always were doing something. It's a lot different, I understand, than today, but you would get up in the morning, and you go out of the house, and you'd be gone. You come back at lunchtime, you'd be gone again. Streetlights came on, you had to be back home, and that was how we lived. And you're always stickball, baseball, whatever it was, football.
Yeah.
You were always on the go doing something.
Always active.
And you were. And it was always just the way it was. And then when you get involved with the programs that are out there with the Little League, and you get into the soccer leagues or whatever it was you were getting into, and then you started getting into the team-oriented part of it. But in Brighton, where I grew up, there was a YMCA, which was where you learned to swim as a kid in the city.
Yeah.
It wasn't like out here where people had pools in their backyards. It was.
You grew up in Brighton. Yeah. I was asking your wife today, and she mentioned that, and I said, I went to Brighton High School when I came to this country.
Really?
Yeah. Have you ever seen Brighton High School?
Yeah, I have. I grew up on the other side down in Oak Square.
Yeah.
And went to it was Catholic school, Our Lady of Presentation.
Yeah. Tell me about that.
I know.
Our Lady of Presentation, is it called?
It was Our Lady of Presentation.
Let me look at your knuckles. How do your knuckles?
No, well, it was this. One of them doesn't work. One of them still doesn't work.
Is that right? How was that? Was that a good disciplined place for you?
It was, the nuns in particular, with the Order of the Notre Dame.
Okay.
The Order of the Notre Dame, I think is what they were called, but they had the black outfits with the white
Oh, the
things
whole
around
thing.
the whole 9 yards.
Huh.
And they were very, very strict, very
Yeah.
disciplinarian. They gave you a great lesson in the 3 R's, reading, writing, arithmetic. It's one of those things where
Yeah.
the education you got out of it was great, but there were some times there when those nuns,
It's a little tough.
they believed in corporal punishment.
Yeah.
And it was
Sometimes it's okay.
they get their point across. Pointers, rulers.
Yeah. But you were kind of like you're not a bad kid. Like you didn't get disciplined too often, right?
No, I was a good kid. I grew up. I had asthma, so I was kind of a little bit sickly as a kid. And I was allergic to everything, so it was one of those kind of things where you're coming out of, different doctors and but I did get to the point where you outgrow it. But I lived probably 50 yards from the school.
Yeah.
And you could walk there easily. And I had a dog, great dog, and followed me everywhere. It was like my shadow.
Yeah.
but I could never get to school on time. I was lived that close, you know.
Really?
I watched like the end of Leave It to Beaver, that we running out the door.
Always something
and
else to
taking
do
off,
before
and
you
the
leave.
Dog would come with me, and you know.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where the janitor would actually, you know, he'd just see us come running, my dog would be with me, and we'd just leave the door open, we'd go in, and
Yeah.
I always liked the class, and so I was always on one of those nuns in particular. She,
Yeah. I was gonna ask you if there was like one particular nun that you remember specifically. This is left an impression on me.
yeah, Sister Mary Rayfield. She
Yeah.
scarred my memory.
Sister Mary what?
Sister Mary Rayfield.
Rayfield.
Yeah.
Okay. She was pretty tough.
They were tough.
Yeah.
They were, yeah, she was tough. It's funny, you know, I didn't really think about the nuns much after we left the city and went to Walpole, and was leaving a real structured, you know, environment with a Catholic school and going out to a public school.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time, was in junior high, when we left, when we actually went to Walpole. And I remember coming back after the first day, my father goes to me, he says, "So what'd you think of class the first day?" I look at him, I go, "Well, I don't know what to think of it." He goes, "Well, what happened?" I go, "Well, it wasn't reading, writing, or arithmetic. We're talking, this film came on, it was Eskimos, and they were like clubbing seals up in Alaska." And then it went from there to the Inuits, and we were going through this, half the day we were just watching films on Eskimos. Great.
Yeah.
And he's like, he goes, "Really? Eskimos?"
No nuns.
No nuns, no. No.
But that's probably something in there though that you came out with, that you said this is part of who I am because of that, and it's not a bad thing, right?
Right. I mean, back then it was structured to the point was it was tied in with the church a lot too. So, you know, being a Catholic, you know, whether it was first communions and everything was processional, procedural. You know, the outfits you had to wear to school: white shirt, gray pants, red tie.
Yeah.
And even as a little kid, you know, the big thing was when you get to the third grade, you had to have a real tie, not the bow tie. So the bow
Oh,
tie was
not
for
the
a couple
clip-on?
of years. So you learn how to tie a tie early age, I
There
guess.
you go.
So
Which probably helped you in your sales career, right?
it did, yeah,
Right?
definitely.
So you did sales for a while when you were
When
later on in life.
when I first got into college, I dabbled a little bit in insurance, but I really wasn't. I was licensed to give you insurance, but I really just couldn't get a grasp around, couldn't get my arms around doing it. It was just something about it.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting involved with the banking industry, mainly because my college loans were coming due. And the banker that had given me the loans, he said to me, he goes, you know, banks love Irish guys. He goes, go down there, just talk to them, get into the banking, they'll like it. And I ended up going into Boston. At the time, you know, you didn't have the internet, it was resumes. So you bring your resumes in, go in the financial district, and you hit every bank you could, you know, and fill out the applications and hopefully get a call back. The very last one I had was a company called Bay Bank, which was
Maybank,
now
Bank of
it's
America.
Bank of America now.
Yeah,
Yeah. And they, when I left that, it was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'll never forget. And I get back on the commuter rail. I was coming back out to Walpole. And just before I left his office, he said, "If you have time, go to the Dedham branch on your way out, because the commuter rail is going to go right by there. Because it's going to be late, but I think that's good. Do it today, though." So I said, okay. And had nothing better to do, so went to the branch in Dedham, and they says, "Can you get the Waltham?" I says, "When?" He goes, "Tomorrow." I says, "Sure." He goes, "There's a branch out there that we could work with you on. We're looking for college grads, and we have a new program we're starting. It's a management program. Wouldn't you be perfect for it?" So I went out there the next day and went out there and I got the job. But and get into that end of it, did it for a couple of years. But
Also, you were doing sales for the bank?
well, no, here's how I got into sales. It
Oh.
was more of a loan officer. That's how it started off.
Okay. All right.
And I get involved with that, and I was working with the automobile dealers and buying paper on the desk and that kind of thing. And just a need arose in the sales department at the bank. One of the people who were there left, and that was the time interstate banking was becoming prevalent. So it wasn't just the regional banks. I don't know if you remember Bank of New England,
Yeah.
and even the Bay Bank in particular. Each one had like the Cape, Middlesex, the Valley out in Western Mass. Merrimack was up in the North Shore, but they all had their own regional territories, even though it was one bank. And they had asked me, says, you know, the person that's leaving, you know, we don't have anybody in mind yet, but we're thinking, would you think about sales? And I says, I go, yeah, I would. And so I went to meet with the vice president of sales. He goes, we've been watching you for a while. And he goes, you know, you have a good rapport with the dealers. We think you'd be good on the street. I says, really? And he says, remember what convinced me on it was the president of the bank said to me, he goes, yeah, he goes, you know, some people aren't meant for four walls, and I think you're one of them. I said, what's that mean? It's a compliment, right? He goes, no, get out there and, you know, that's what you like it. I guarantee you're going to love it. And he was right, I did. It was the best advice I got from him. And that was how I started, and I stayed with that company for about 5 years. And it was right about the time the interstate banking laws really came in, so the Chase Manhattans and Citibanks and the other companies started coming in. And it was just about that time in the you know, mid-'80s, late '80s, when automobile leasing was becoming popular. And mainly out in the West Coast because the weather was conducive to the vehicles staying in better shape. You didn't have winters. They weren't getting, you know, dinged and whatnot with accidents, and they weren't subjected to the harsh winters.
Salt and the snow and all that, yeah.
And then I got a call from it was actually a headhunter at the time, and he says, oh, we'd like you to come talk to this company out of New York, up in Buffalo, and they're going to be involved with leasing. Do you know much about leasing? The only thing I really knew about leasing was I had the college grad program coming out, and I went to this Robin Ford. That name keeps coming back in my life. And they had, he told me, he goes, get in the college grad program. He goes, we'll get you into a lease. It's the anniversary edition Mustang, which was, I loved Mustangs. So I got into the red carpet lease program, was what they called it with Ford Motor Credit at the time.
Red carpet.
That was the first one I had. But you know, unfortunately, those cars, they had rear-wheel drive, not front-wheel drive. So I kept the car for a year because it was no good in the snow.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But that was how I got involved with the car business, the leasing end of it, and understood it more. And then I started taking off and doing it. And the scenario, the best way to describe going from the regional banks were in New England to go to companies like New York, it was more like the Wizard of Oz going from black and white to Technicolor halfway through that.
Oh, yeah?
That's the
Pretty drastic?
experiences where everything opens up for you.
Huh.
And you get a company car expense account, all the things, you know, that come with it, and a marketing department. There was just so much more to offer. And I stayed with that company up until they get bought. It was one of those things, the mergers were going on and acquisitions, and
Yeah.
I ended up going with a company down in Long Island, and again, that was an exclusive leasing company. They were going after mainly the Honda Accords, Toyota Camrys, some of the Highline import cars, because those had the best resale value. But again, it was venture capital, and it was that kind of thing where, you know, it was a short-term job, but it was good money. And at the time, we didn't have the kids, so I had all in New England, so I could leave on a Monday and come back on a Friday, and try to work that into your lifestyle.
So when did you meet? At this point, you already met Kelly. You were married.
We were married, yeah.
Oh, so
Yeah.
when did you meet her? When did you, and where did you meet her?
I
and
met
what did you
her-
do? What tricks did you play so you could win her?
I had, it was in Walpole. I had gotten out of college. I was out a couple of years.
Yeah.
And one of my friends, one of my best friends, he was working in a restaurant, and there's a bar, club, nightclub type of thing. And he just said to me, he goes, hey, look, he goes, and he played football. You know, I played baseball. And he says, hey, look, he goes, do you want to come down and work the door with me? He goes, we need bouncers down at this place on the weekends. And he goes, the place gets a little out of control, but you know, it's nothing crazy, but it's, you know, it's good money. It's quick, you know. But the only thing is you have to commit to the weekends. And it's at that point in my life where I was kind of like, yeah, you know, trying to put some money aside. And so I figured I'd give it a shot. And I went down there, and you know, it was a good time. It was a fun job.
Yeah.
It didn't seem like it was work, and you know, and you get to, you know, have some fun down there. But that's where my wife was working at the time as a
Did
waitress.
you have to kick her out? Was she getting out of line? And you bounce her?
Well,
it did happen, huh? You're
Well,
laughing.
you know, we used to pitch pennies against the wall during our breaks, you know, because it was like,
Pitch pennies against the
'cause
wall?
we were waiting, you know, yeah.
What is that? How do you? What do
You throw pennies against the wall and you try to get it closest to the wall.
yeah. Oh,
And it was
okay.
a game,
Yeah.
again, like the waitresses and you know the guys on the door. We used to do it to kill time. in
Yeah.
between.
Right. Okay.
And that's
Okay.
really how I met her, and
Yeah.
you know, one thing led to another, and
She was throwing pennies and stuff. And
pitching pennies. Yeah.
pitching pennies. She never told me that.
I wasn't expecting it. You know, I wasn't looking for it, and there it is. You know.
Yeah, and you're quite a suave penny pincher.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the sales thing. You know, I always wonder about people who do sales. What were you selling, basically? You were selling the lease product, or?
Yeah, we started off as being leasing, and we'd go into dealerships, automobile dealerships, and
Yeah.
meet with the finance and insurance people, and meet with the owners, and it would start off with trying to get the end loan, which would be the lease, and as you get in there, more involved with them, yeah, the ultimate goal would be to get the floor plan for the account, and that'd
Okay.
be the inventory for the dealership, and that's where the
So get
most
that.
money was
That
made.
was a big.
Yeah, so you get in on the ground level, work with their people, introduce them to leasing, teach them about leasing, because in this area, you know, the leasing was kind of taboo. They didn't really want to get involved with it.
Really?
And it took a lot of, it took a lot initially because the nameplates weren't out there yet. You know, even the Ford Motor Credits or the, some of the Toyotas and the Hondas and whatnot, they really weren't sold on it as well. But they knew that the price of the cars kept going up, and to make them affordable, you had to come up with some kind of finance vehicle to
okay,
get
yeah.
people into it. Because most people, even to this day, they have that stigma about what's your payment that you can be comfortable with.
Yeah, yeah.
So the price kept going up in the cars.
So when you get that letter in the mail that says, "We've been looking for your car. If you come in and you let us buy it from you, we'll sell you another one."
Yeah.
That's
And they're just trying to replenish their used inventory, and
Used
they make more
in-
money on the used than
wow, really?
because
Huh.
the new pricing that's out there is exactly what that is. Manufacturer
Wow.
suggested retail price, and the whole premise with the lease was to actually put them in something in 3 years and get an affordable. Say if they say at $300 a month for 36 months, they were happy with a brand new car, and every 3 years you'd roll into another new car. That's kind of the idea. Right?
Oh, all right. Well,
The
let's talk
reality,
about.
though, is that, most people will take it for 3 years and say, well, the car's still in good shape. It's got relatively
Yeah.
low miles on it. And it's a
Yeah.
good quality car, and you know what?
But
I'll
I
just
feel
buy another one.
flattered when somebody sends me a letter saying, "We want your car." We don't have enough of those.
Yeah. If you're in the right model, I mean, those Hondas or those
Yeah.
Accords or Acuras or
Oh, no, I have a Kia.
Camrys,
So.
Kias, Hyundais were back in the day, those were the entry-level cars, and say, they've come a long way.
Now you did a little baseball coaching because you do like sports, so you decided you went in a little baseball coaching. High school? Was it middle school? What was that?
I never coached in the school programs, mainly because I was working. But I mean, in the off seasons, during the seasons, I was getting involved. My dad, in particular, he actually founded the Little League program in Walpole.
The what?
The Little League baseball
Yeah,
program
yeah, okay.
out of Williamstown. When we moved to Walpole from the city,
Yeah.
they didn't have an organized program in
Your
place.
grandfather founded
My
it?
father.
Your father?
My dad, yeah.
Oh.
And he took it on himself and went out and he
Wow.
actually chartered the program for the town of Walpole
Oh.
and built 2 fields, through Robin Ford. Again, that name's going to keep coming up. And he sponsored a lot of the fencing and a lot of the materials to seed it. So that's kind of how I get involved with that end of it. And then when I came, with him in Walpole, as I went through the programs in high school and Legion ball, and come home for the summers, I'd coach with him, because that's what he did.
Huh.
And then, and I came out to Northbridge, and my son was born, and I got involved with it, and I get involved with the baseball program out here, and in particular with, from T-ball when they're 4 all the way up to Babe Ruth at 17.
Yeah.
So it was I just loved doing it. It was great to be with the kids, the coaches, the assistant coaches, the people you meet in the baseball family, in those communities when you're in there. It's second to none. Which, if I could segue off a little bit onto
Yes,
this,
yeah.
I think I mentioned something earlier, and even to the viewers who were out there, there was a huge loss in this community just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Rob Frazier was instrumental in, matter of fact, the building of the concession stand right in back of the studio here at Legion
Oh.
Field.
Huh.
He was president of the Youth Baseball Association. He did yeoman's work on behalf of the kids in this town. And he built the Linwood Fields up at softball for the girls' teams. The old Vale Field, which has been recently turned over to the Balmer School now.
Yeah.
But he was just one of those people that was always involved with the community and actively involved with baseball and kids, and just a super guy.
Yeah.
And he passed a couple of weeks ago. So it was a tough loss. Personally, I think, and as well for the town, and how do you recover from that? It's a touching thing for, I know, his wife Pam and his son Johnny and Robbie. We're close with my daughter and son, relatively the same age, and I know his daughter Abby. And, to see them have to go through that, it's tough.
Was it
especially
very
at a
sudden,
young
or
age. Yeah,
it
yeah.
came as a surprise? Again?
Young guy, early 50s. And,
Early 50s. Ouch.
So,
Hmm.
there is as a matter of fact, I was just going to just mention something briefly on this. They have set up a Venmo account. It's more of like a memorial. And anybody interested in that, it's the username is @RobFraser Memorial Fund.
Say it one more time slowly, exactly what it is.
The username is
Spell it.
@RobFraser Memorial Fund, and you spell Fraser Fraser.
At Rob Frazier
Memorial
Memorial
Fund.
Fund.
Yep.
Okay. That's a Venmo account.
Yeah, Venmo
So if you
account.
want to contribute or
Yeah,
something.
whatever
okay.
if you feel
Okay.
it's available. I'm sure the family would appreciate it. But there's a lot of volunteerism that goes on, coaching or in the town in any sport. And I sat on the board of directors with Rob, for a number of years, and it seems like whatever sport you get involved with, there's always a handful of the same people that are always out there, whether it's registrations or the winter meetings, getting ready for the coming season. The folks that are getting involved with putting the tryouts together and the teams together, and
Yeah.
it's there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes
He
work.
gets involved with it, and to see somebody like that no longer involved, it's going to be a loss that I think they're going to feel for a little bit.
Yeah.
So
So you were good friends with them too. You
I
spent
know
some time
him,
with
yeah,
them?
I know him mainly through baseball, and every time I see him around town, it was
Yeah.
always like a continuation. You do something for it was over a decade, maybe 12 years. You kind of get into that realm, and you'd
Yeah.
always would look for that person at a certain time of the end, especially when we were developing the programs and putting things together and seeing the program grow in a good way.
Yeah.
And to be nurtured through that, it was a lot of his efforts that made a lot of that happen. And
So he's gonna be
it's
missed.
sad. Yeah.
Yeah.
He will be.
Now we were talking earlier. You were talking about kind of a string of situations that were happening in your circle of influence regarding these types of tragedies, and you were kind of like wondering.
Yeah,
Wow,
it's kind of, you think about what happened to Rob. I mean, it was, month of October was a little bit tough because, my mother-in-law had an issue come up with a TIA, a small mini stroke, beginning of the month. And then my brother-in-law was actually out visiting his son in Colorado. And his son works for Guy Fieri on that Diners and Dives show that you've seen on the Food Channel.
Yeah.
He's in his production staff, and they wanted to go out there and surprise him. And
Yeah.
he was out there like on a Friday night, and that night in the hotel, middle of the night, he suffered a heart attack.
Oh.
Now,
Wow.
luckily, he got
Sorry
to the
hear.
hospital, and they were able to put a couple of stents in him, and he's still
Yeah.
on the road to recovery.
Yeah.
And that same day, Rob passed, so it was
So it was
kind
a
of
lot of hits in a very
yeah,
short
It
time.
was, it was kind
Huh.
of puts things in perspective for you.
Yeah.
It's
Hmm.
when it hits that close, that age, that same age group that we're in, it's it gives you a wake up call. We all go through. I mean, I do anyway, and I stress the need to try to, on a yearly basis, get your checkups. I say to my guys at work, my sales guys, the people, my staff back at the office, the warehouse technicians, all of them, I say the same thing to them, because there's so much they can help you with today in medicine. It's been so much more advanced, so many things that they can do for you if it's detected early enough.
Yeah.
Sometimes when your time is up, but the most
Yeah.
little things you can do maintenance-wise.
Yeah.
It's
Try to
crucial.
take care of yourself, but I guess when they say when your ticket's up,
Yeah, unfortunately, that's,
yeah.
that
But
is-
I think that you're thinking that things like that do make you think about your own mortality in a way.
it's kind of, I just had this past week, I had the first retirement meeting with for the financial planning end of it. I mean, I've done it over the years, but it really kind of sunk in a little bit. That you got to start thinking what's your end game for 10 years? Do you want to get out? What age? And you start to put all that together, and maybe that was the precursor that could come really put that emphasis and get this thing squared away, get a plan in writing. I mean, everybody looks at doing your will and having your life insurance, but now you get your 401ks and Social Security, and what are the laws and the rules, and they change all the time.
Yeah.
So I had a very good meeting, last week up in Milford with one of the
So
companies.
right now
up there.
you're like moving into sort of a somewhat empty nester territory slowly, right?
Yeah, we have. Because, it's, as you know, I mean, with your family, you live for your kids and, you
Yeah.
go through that period where,
Oh, I don't, but
get,
go ahead.
well, you get so absorbed, when they're younger and then they grow up and
Yes.
then,
Yeah.
they go off to college and it's kind of like, me and Kelly will sit back and we'll look at each other. The house is too quiet.
Oh,
We get the
yeah,
dog
yeah.
and the two cats, but it's just kind of, you're used to
Yeah.
being at such a
Right.
hectic pace. And so now you're kind of like, it's almost like back to you when you were dating again. It's
You
kinda,
get more food.
the
right?
food bill goes down, yeah. Except when they come home, it goes back up again.
Yeah. So it's also, does it make you also think about, wow, we're like together, the two of us again?
Yeah, I
Like
think
you-
I think
yeah.
it does. I think it's kind of it's like a reconnect maybe, because
That's great.
so it's kind of
Yeah.
you're trying to see where's this next chapter going to go for us. Are you on the back nine as they say? What are you going to do now?
The what?
The back nine of life. It's kind of
Oh, the
like a
back-
golf type of a thing.
What do you want to do with the next 30 years that you have and more that you
Yeah.
probably have ahead of you? What do you want to do? What would you like to be doing?
I've always liked traveling. And we did a lot of it when she was a travel agent. It was great because we were able to take advantage of some of the perks with that industry, and she was in on that. And we didn't have the kids, we could do it. We were all over the Caribbean a couple of times. It was almost like we were in Aruba and all those Mexico and cruises and whatnot. And we've had sales incentive trips at my company where we were taking cruises and going to Mexico quite a bit
Nice.
in the off season. So I enjoyed that. It was fun. And I just had the kids on a sales incentive trip with me a few years back. We went to Puerto Rico before the hurricane.
Before there was
Yeah.
a big hurricane.
And
Yeah.
we were down there for a little over a week, and that was a great trip, great family trip.
Nice.
Yeah.
So that'd be something to do. And
Yeah.
reconnect with the wife too. All those years the kids stole from you.
Yeah,
I wanted to tell you about your kids because I know Sam when he came to help me out with the yard and to clean up the leaves. Remember?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
the one thing I wanted to ask is that at that point when he was kind of doubting himself, what did you say to him?
He's.
I heard things. I just want you to tell me.
What do I say to? The best part about coaching was because we were always together.
Yeah.
And it was, whether it was mainly baseball, because with baseball we played AAU ball as well as town ball, and we
Yeah.
traveled quite a bit. We were down in New York. We went to Cooperstown. When he was
Hey, you
12.
avoiding the question? Are you avoiding the question?
What was that?
What did you say to Sam?
Oh, when you had time?
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
I told him, get back out there and finish the job. You haven't, he asked you to do
Finish
it.
the
You said you were
job.
going to do it. Now you got to finish what you start.
And he
Yeah,
came. He came over and did it.
He came home that first night telling me, Dad, I can't do this. It's just too
Yeah.
much. I go, you got the blowers. You're going to have to get, it's going to have to be a rake job. You got to get down and you got to get the gloves on and get going. I says, what you should do, get a hold of a couple of your buddies. Get
Yeah.
a hold of Crawford or Timmy Havity, whoever, and you guys go up there and just knock it out. I think
Yeah.
you get a hold of Connor Johnson.
Connor, yeah, that's one of them.
Yeah,
Right,
Connor.
right.
And then the next day he was up and he came back, and I think you guys took
Yeah.
very good care of him. They were-
Well, because it was very nice. This is the thing. Like he invited 3 other friends, and my faith in the youth was revived that day because I saw your son and the other kids, and they had it together. Those kids.
yeah.
And sometimes you think of teenagers and you think, man, what's going on with today's kids? And these kids were like impressing me, like
Yeah.
all the way.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's kind of refreshing. I'm fortunate that both my kids, Brianna and Sam, and we raised them both the same way. They came from the same household. But it just seems that they're going through their struggles, as they grow, and
Yeah.
especially now in that college end of it. And Brianna's, at the tail end now. She's going to graduate in May, hopefully, and then.
From this is high school or
No,
college?
she's at Bridgewater now. She's
Oh.
double majoring, so it was like she wanted to go back and get that double major in the 5th year. So,
Yeah.
and then Sam's up there right now at Westfield going at it, but we've been fortunate because they've always maintained a sense of who they are. They're respectful of others, family oriented. I've been lucky that they're relatively trouble-free. I
Normal,
mean, they were
yeah.
always gonna, have their own
Yeah.
quirks there.
Yeah.
But I mean, in the long and short of it, we've been blessed that they've been good kids.
Yeah, well, they're definitely good kids. And there was one of the kids that was with Sam also that I guess he was working on his at Blackstone Tech for his technical degree or something. And he was like working on the blower because my blower went. I don't know what Sam did.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I was going to
yeah.
charge you
Seuss,
for it.
yeah,
But,
yeah.
but
No,
anyway,
he's actually gonna be a diesel mechanic. That's what he's going for.
yeah, and he just kept working at it.
Yeah.
And just to the point where he said, I don't know, I think it might be gone. He says, let me try one more thing. And he did something else, and then my blower works now.
Yeah.
He's like, man, these kids are.
And he's always tinkered like that too.
Yeah.
With snow blowers or whatever he's involved with, on
I was
ski
very
mobiles
impressed.
and
I was very impressed.
yeah.
And the other kid was that was carrying the stuff. That's why I needed to like help them all out because they were helping me. But I was so happy to see young kids with their act together, basically.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I see it, even in my own job, the kids coming in, at the young, and we're at that point now with our company because they're going through that succession stage where we're all getting at that age where some are starting to retire, some are starting to work their way through it, and the young blood's coming in, and sometimes that millennial that's out there, that work ethic isn't necessarily there. How do you instill that into them and to get them to do the things me and you did, like you know how to mow a lawn, or you were tinkering with stuff like we had mentioned. So it's a different environment because I think we mentioned earlier about sports. And, when you grow up in the city, you're always playing, or you're always out, you're always doing something. And I think today, maybe because the electronics are there, the phones are there, the Xbox 360s are there. You don't see them out doing what we did as kids.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's bad. It's just a different way of life, and that's how things will
Yeah.
evolve for us. But
It's just a different mentality, I think.
yeah, I
And
think
also, if you think about, for example, what Sam and his friends coming over to help and doing the job and then getting paid for it, like they had to do the job first and then get paid once it was done.
yeah,
But that delay of gratification doesn't exist as much. Like you were talking about the millennials. A lot of people don't talk too good about the millennials because, and one of the reasons is because they have that immediacy. They've
Yeah.
always had that immediacy.
you're right. They want that instant gratification, as you just said, and they don't realize sometimes. You gotta wait. Sometimes you gotta. There's a route to go. I think that's just society today, the way it is. It's everything's rush.
Now, when you grew up, how many brothers and sisters do you have?
3 brothers.
3 brothers.
Yeah. Yeah.
You were like.
I'm the
where?
oldest.
You're the oldest.
Yeah.
Oh, so what's the youngest right now?
My youngest brother, he's right now he's the postmaster general down in Wareham.
No, I mean, how old is he?
He's 51.
51, and were you guys close together or? Like,
Yeah, we were all like Irish twins. I think we're all a year or 2 apart.
Irish?
He was actually 8 years apart, but my other brothers were all a couple of years apart.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So, good
No.
Catholic family kind of deal? Or-
Yeah, we grew up in a 2-family house, in Brighton. And it was funny. I was just in there about 2 weeks ago with Brianna. Now, my mother's cousin was actually celebrating. Well, I guess it was celebrating. It was St. Mary's High School in Brookline. Had the first ever reunion. Now, the school was closed in 1982.
Yeah.
But my cousin, she was instrumental in getting that rekindling that class back again.
Oh.
And she wanted to get them together. She's like right after Labor Day, and wanted to have some pictures taken. So Kelly was involved with I think the senior portraits, but Brianna offered to do it. So we brought her back in, and now this was everybody from some of these people 95 years of age,
Yeah.
just coming back, and some of the ones were probably in their early 50s. But we had Brianna with me, and she was at that old school that was still standing, and they still use it, to this day for, it's not a full-blown high school like it was. It's more
Yeah.
like for elementary and some of the special projects. But they were able to go through the old gymnasiums that were still intact, and some of the old classrooms that were still
Wow.
there. And it was great to see, Brianna take that in. Now my mother's cousin, she's in her late 70s, and she winters down in North Carolina, and she was just she just left a few weeks ago. Before she left, though, she was at the house passing on recipes to Brianna for pies and all that. But while we had her that day in Brookline, I took, and I've done it in the past, to take the kids back to where my house was in, you know, in Brighton.
Oh.
And, you know, their reaction is always, you know, the houses are so close together, there's no yards.
Yeah.
You know, it's all concrete and, you know, asphalt. But they still love taking the trip in there every time we go in there.
Yeah.
And we end up going to the stockyard over in Brighton on
Yeah,
Market
they
Street.
get some food and whatever.
Yeah,
That's-
we had some lunch afterwards and caught the end of the Patriots game, but it was kind of like a throwback to,
Oh,
so,
rekindle some memories in your brain. Maybe you feel it, make you feel a little nostalgic there. or-
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I love going by that, Woody. I mean, and my daughter, she's graphic arts design, and Boston College has a brand new museum of arts that they just opened up about a year ago, so. Yeah, I still love the city. You know, I mean, well, you mentioned Brighton High School.
Yeah,
where
yeah,
you
yeah.
went to.
Yeah.
Now, what part of Brighton did you live in?
We didn't. I didn't live in Brighton. I lived. We lived in
Boston?
Huntington Avenue in Boston, basically.
Yeah.
But Huntington Avenue.
Yeah.
And I first went to a school that was up Huntington Avenue. That was an old English-speaking school, because Brighton High School was bilingual.
Yeah.
So, and I always tell people it's funny because I went to that school maybe for 2 or 3 weeks, and I started to pick up the language, you know, because I was
Yeah.
forced to pick it up.
Sure.
And so then my mother put me on Brighton High School,
Yeah.
which was bilingual. And it's
Yeah.
fine, but then I didn't have to learn right away.
Yeah.
Because this is going to a Spanish high school almost.
Now, my cousin, he still owns my mother's cousin, so again, he's in his 70s, but he owns a funeral business right off of Perkins Street, down in Jamaica Plain.
Okay, yeah, Jamaica Plain, yeah.
Yeah, where Angel Memorial is, he's actually, Man and Rogers, it's a pile that's right on Perkins Street. And he's been the undertaker that actually is always taking care of the family, you know,
Yeah,
at
yeah.
that time. So he's been in the city now his whole life. I mean, he was one of those, you know, second generation, just stayed there and never left, and you know, made a go of it, and real city boy. But he was a real influence in my life earlier as well. He was a big athlete, and he was one of those guys who was a real kind of go-getter as well, as far as, you know, being involved with community, being, you know, that kind of approach to things. Where he was always involved heavily, volunteerism and whatnot. So
Yeah. I was talking to Kelly about just giving her a hard time and said, Kelly, what was it that attracted you to Bob when you met him? Guess what she said?
can get in trouble. Wow.
She said, she said you have some great duck jokes.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, you know, it was kind of, when we first got married, I remember my wife said to me, she said, you know, I don't think we should have kids right away. I want to spend the first 5 years, I want you to meet my family.
Yeah.
Now, she's from Colorado,
Oh.
and they're all from Kansas City or, you know, San Francisco, the Midwest predominantly. And to be honest with you, the first time I got on a plane was actually on my honeymoon. You know, I played baseball in
Is that
college,
right?
but we played all up from Maine all the way down to Florida. But we took a bus or a train.
Wow.
I never got on a plane. So I'm like, oh, I'd like to meet your family. I'd love to go to Colorado. I've never been there. And you know, luckily she was in the travel business too, so we started putting things together. And one of my other brother-in-laws, he was in the hotel business with the Hyatt, and he was, you know, working through there. So when we could fly, you know, with the benefits with her job, and then we could stay the hotels with my brother-in-law. So, you know, for a few years there, we could just like kind of.
That's very sweet.
It was great.
So you look back in those times sometimes, and because I think now, as I'm getting older, sometimes I do stop and think about how fortunate I am in many ways, you know, and not by comparing, but by simply looking at the things that we enjoy in our lives, you know.
Yeah.
Like think about those moments, and you think,
I think, yeah, you're right, because, as you get older, you probably appreciate it more, I think. I mean, I'm always thankful, for whatever I do have, but, when you do look back and you think, God, it was like another lifetime ago, what was it like before you had kids? What was it like, all those grinding years when you were trying to get established and get yourself going, and before you built a house, or before you, had your first mortgage, and it just seems like it was just an eternity ago.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you look up right now, and I look at my kids, my son being in college, my daughter just getting ready to graduate
Right.
college. You go, where'd the time go?
I know.
The last 10 years of my life, honestly, I said this earlier, to Kelly, I knew it's just, the last 10 years has just been like a flash.
Yeah.
We look at, they were 10, now they're
Yeah.
in their 20s. But where did the time go? Because
Yeah.
you're so involved with their upbringing, I think, and we were, anyway, and you just always go. And then you finally, now when they go off to college, and now it's the first time you really put the brakes on,
Yeah.
and you say,
Yeah.
oh,
You
here
know
we are.
something?
So, I mean, all good stuff. I mean, it's just life, I
It is
guess.
good. It
it's-
is good. I have a phrase that I love from a song that goes, years go by. Years go by, and they fly with the speed of birds in flight, or they go with the speed of birds in flight.
Yeah,
I mean, that's when you stop to think about it. It's, well,
I know.
that's what it's like.
Yeah.
My wife just told me before I came in. She says, "Oh, how do you like the picture of June? June is our newest granddaughter." I said, "Yeah, she's growing up really fast." And says, "It's just 2 weeks old now. It's 2 weeks." And I thought that I just went to see her yesterday at the hospital or the
Yeah.
day before. So
Well, it's good if they're close to you. It's if they're not cross country, so you get to see them often. I guess that's good. Yeah, like we probably thinking now is, what's the next chapter? Where we're going to be?
yeah,
And you hate to say it, but you don't want to downsize because you spent all this time, building up your house and building up your property, and you're
yeah.
comfortable
My
where
wife
you
doesn't
are.
want to downsize. I want to downsize, but she wants
Yeah.
no. Maybe we can get a bigger
Well,
house.
I guess that's I realize now what landscapers are for. 'Cause-
That's more cleaning
Yeah.
for me.
Well, the things you took for granted, I was always thinking about, how do landscapers survive when you're younger? Because I was always, if you could do it yourself, I did it.
Yeah,
I would never pay a landscaper, when I was 35 or something I could do.
yeah.
But now you're getting up there and you're saying, what? I really don't want to do that lawn anymore.
I think my yard is the only one in the street that has all the leaves in it, and it's probably the biggest one too.
Yeah. You get a big,
So
you
I
get a
gotta
good
call.
size
I gotta
yard.
call Sam again.
Yeah. You might be home this weekend.
So you got any PG dog jokes or one joke? If you don't, I'll tell you one. But
gotta
it's not a dog one.
I can't, I'd have to, I gotta be in the right mood to, I gotta be, I don't know.
No,
It's a funny joke, but every time I start it, I never finish it because I screw it up.
that's what
halfway through.
your wife was telling me that. It says, first you tell it, and then you tell it the wrong way, and then
And the way I tell it the wrong way is the funniest way.
Yeah.
When I tell it the right way, nobody laughs.
what's your favorite joke? You know what your favorite joke is?
Oh, God, I don't. You got me off guard now.
That's okay. I have one. This is one of my favorite jokes. But it's a guy that's leaving Las Vegas. I told this joke the other day and nobody laughed. I said, "Man, what's going on? Is it the delivery?" But anyway, he's leaving Las Vegas because he didn't do so well. So he's driving on the road and he hears this voice that says, "Go to Las Vegas. Go back to Las Vegas." So he turns around, goes back to Las Vegas. He gets in there and then he hears the voice again. The voice says, "Go to Caesar's Palace." So he walks. Have you heard this?
No.
He walks over to Caesar's Palace, goes in, and then he says, walking around waiting for the voice, see if he comes again. The voice says, he hears the voice again, says, "Go to the roulette and play a black number and put $2,000 down." So he says, "Great." So he goes, plays a black number, puts $2,000 down, and it comes up red. Then he hears the voices, "How about that?" See, I don't know. Maybe I'm losing it.
It's funny you said about that because it was first time we went to the casino. Vegas.
Yeah.
It was for a wedding, well, on my wife's side of the family.
Yeah.
And there was a Chinese restaurant that used to be right near where we lived. And there were customers of my wife's for travel. And I told him, I said, I'm going down. I've never been to a casino before. You know, he goes, oh, it's easy. And he goes, you go to the roulette table. And he says, and all you do is play the black 8.
Black 80?
Black 8.
Black 8.
Number 8, black.
Huh.
And he says, you got to remember, that's the only game in the casino where it's a 50-50 shot, because it's going to be either black or red. Every time the ball goes around, it's black or red. So you stay on the black, and you take the 8.
Yeah, yeah.
And I go, I don't like the number 8, but it doesn't matter, just play the 8. And he says, then, you know, the way the rows line up, he goes, you go back and you put a chip on the row where the 8 is, and then around the 8, you put a chip on each one of those corners.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, and if you really get brave, you know, put one on the red too, just so you're never going to lose. And then you're always playing with house money, and then when, you know, you get built up, then you walk away. And I've been to the casino a few times, and every time I play that game, I start off with that same premise of start with the black 8.
Yeah.
And I've done well. I'm not
right?
a huge gambler,
I got to remember that.
but I always try. I always say that. Yeah. It usually
Start with the
works.
black 8.
Black 8.
See, it's a big tip you just gave the audience. So.
Well, it's odd even as well. You know, and it's 50-50, and I thought about that. And I think, you know, that makes a lot of sense.
All right. Well, we're getting to the end. Time has flown by. I really enjoyed talking to you. Another time, we can do it another time in different circumstances. Maybe you can buy us dinner or something. But
Yeah,
anyway,
sounds good.
this is you have an opportunity right now to, someday this will be out there, someday on YouTube, somebody might come upon it and say, hey, who is this guy? You say, what would you say to that person? What message would you like to tell that person?
You know, I think the key with everything is, to me, it's been just work hard. You know, respect others. You know, I'm always the type where the glass is always half full, and I never look back. You know, you always look ahead, and you know, and always strive to be the best. If you're going to work for somebody or some company, work for the best, because you're going to have to get up every day and go to work. You may as well enjoy what you're doing, but give it that every ounce you got, and you'll never regret it.
And watch out for nuns.
Today, actually, I was getting a load of cordwood. Actually, I haven't eaten. I just had like a piece of chicken, I think, when I came home with the dog.
What?
Yeah.
You had a piece of chicken?
Piece of chicken was in the fridge because I was hustling around trying to get stuff done before coming here. And,
Yeah.
I left work early before lunch, so I was hustling all day. So.
What does that got to do with nuns?
Oh, nuns! I thought
Yeah.
you said lunch.
No, watch out for nuns.
Oh, my nuns!
Another piece of advice.
You know, I'm glad that they actually they give you a great education, but
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad that they've been phased out. Well,
Well, you turned out all right.
after I'll tell you the funny story, but I can't tell it on here. But
You can tell it to me another time. You turned out all right.
yeah,
And thanks a lot, Bob. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
I really
Miguel,
appreciate
thank you, man. Appreciate
coming over. I hope you enjoy yourself.
yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah.
This is quite a.
You won't have to do this for another 5 years or so don't worry about it.
Well, I remember being the old Legion Hall back in the days of when the kids were playing.
Oh,
the
so
lights
they
were
fixed it up
there,
pretty
so,
good.
Yeah, it's come a long way.
All right. Well, thank you, Bob, and thanks everyone for joining us today. And join me the next time, and we'll have someone else telling their story. Thanks.